All right, we're gonna finish off this solar build with 3,220 watts of solar. We're gonna show you guys all the ins and outs and show you all the details. So if you're interested, stick around, check it out. Welcome to the Salty Trip channel, and if you're new, I'm Chris. If you've been following along, you'll know that we installed 2 Victron inverters in parallel, and we have 4 24-volt batteries for a whopping 20,000 watt hours of power. So then we installed 2,500 watts of solar already on the roof, and we decided that wasn't enough. But we still wanted to walk the whole roof up and down and get access to slide out. So it was hard to find a panel that would fit down the middle and in places and get enough power that we would like. So we went online and we found something that we thought would fit the bill. I'm not going to try to pronounce this name here because I'll probably get it wrong, but we found these 180 watt panels that will squeeze into the spaces that we think it'll allow us to keep walking up and down and access everything. So we're going to show you the ins and outs of this full install of these 720 watt panels. We are not professionals. This is not a how-to, this is a how we did it. So if you want to see how we made it happen, let's get to it. All right, so I think we got everything we need here to install in the underbelly. We got a 150 35 MPPT charge controller. That means it allows for 150 volts in and 35 amps out, and that's 35 amps at 28 volts because it's pushing the voltage from the solar panels, squashing it down to the voltage that the batteries can take, which is bulk. It's like 28.8 volts, and it can do a max of 35, which is about 900 watts. Our array isn't that big, it's only about 720, so it should be plenty. We should only be pushing about 26 amps through this thing. But I do have a 40 amp breaker here that we are going to run 6-gauge wire from the battery to the breaker, then to the Lynx distributor, and then we have our 30 amp breaker to protect our 10-gauge wire that's coming from the roof, and it's basically a shut off too. And we got all our crimps. We got some small ones to go in here, and we got some 5/16 to go to the Lynx distributor. And then of course we have our VE direct cable. I'll leave links to all this stuff in the description area below in case you're interested, but we'll put this together. We'll get it installed in there. We're gonna put this one right here. Now we just got a couple of these self-tapping screws to put this up with. And then this is just a grounding cable that screws in the side here. We're just going to screw it up right up there. Now comes the 40 amp breaker. And now we're just going to measure that to there. We got our measurement there. Just going to cut it 6-gauge. One end we're going to leave open, and the other end we are going to put a sleeve crimp on. So we're just going to figure out how much we need. Use these to twist until I get it off. There we go. Got our crimpers set to 6-gauge. Slip on our heat shrink. Shrink that up. Then we're just going to cut a little bit off this end to go into the controller. There you go. And we'll put another end on this one for the one that goes to the from the breaker to the Lynx distributor. We're going to take this off, slip that on, that down. Now we're just going to kind of measure where this is going to go back up into here. Take our mark, cut it, and just put another end on here. All right, that's all on this side. Of course, this has got a smaller end, that's got a bigger one. This is the links, that's the breaker. All right, so now we got the power off, batteries off, solar is off, and I turned the switch off at the breaker, so there's no power coming here to anywhere. So we're gonna take this off and hook these wires up. I just crimped on another one for the negative. That's gonna go to here, and then we'll strip out bare wire, what we need for up there. Negative on. Got a 40 amp mega fuse here. That goes on first. Put a couple of zip ties, hold stuff together, and we'll see how much we need to get up there. All right, so we got the power back on. So now we just have to get a couple little jumpers with this MC4 connectors up into the PV controller here. And then these two right here will connect to the roof. All right, this is pretty easy. All we have to do is strip off this 10 gauge wire, and we have a male connector here, which you use the fat connector. We'll crimp that onto here. I'll show you all this mess, and then stick it in here and put it together. That much. Stick that in there, stick it in the 10 gauge one, crimp it down, slip that back on, the waterproof connector, push that in all the way to hear it pop, put this one on, you hear that pop. Now we just gotta plop these in here. Do the negative first. Plug in the VE direct cable, and then it plugs in there. All right, guys, everything's plugged in and hooked up, except of course, you know, the stuff coming from the roof, which we'll take care of later. But we are just going to pop this breaker on, turn it on so it gets power to the controller, and I'm going to open up my Victron Connect app. It's asking for an update. It's updating. All right, we're connected. We're going to get we're through all the updates. I'm going to do all that first before you do anything. It'll just automatically ask you when you crank it up. But we're going to go over here to settings. We're going to go to battery. It already says that, you know, recognize this 24 volts. Charger enabled. Yes. Going to come to select preset. We are going to go to smart lithium. Hit OK, and our batteries say that we should be absorption should be 28.8, so we're just going to hit that up, and then the float should be 27.6. So and that's it. That's all the settings you really need to do is just change it over to lithium, and then tell it, you know, what your absorption and what your float rate should be. There's no equalization with lithium batteries, so you don't have to worry about that. The max charge current is 35, because that's 35. You know, you can lower it if you want, I guess, but that's all you got to do. Pretty simple. And then we just got to run wire from the roof, attach all our solar panels, and we should be good to go. All right, guys, well, it's early next morning, and if I would have had some foresight, I probably would have ran a chase line through here. That's why I added this box. If you guys remember in the last video, the reason I went with one of these boxes instead of one of the ones that just have 2 lines to come through, well, if I have this box here, if in case I want to put like an antenna or something else, I'll have an access hole, or if I want to add more solar or something, I'll have a junction box here. I can just run more line through. That's why I added this box down here, so we can expand. So all we have to do is pop this off, run another line down there to pull it up, and we'll get to it. So all I have to do is tie these this 10 gauge wire up to this, and then snake it back up there, pull it through. Should just pull right up. There we go. Shoot. Okay, so we got the wires run down through the roof. So here's the plan. We're gonna put one panel right there, one right here, and we're gonna stagger 2. One over here, and one right over top of that. So that's gonna give us 720 more watts, and we may be able to squeeze one more down at the end, but I'm not totally sold on that yet. I'll have to figure out a way to make it fold, because I need that area to get up and down on the roof. And like I said at the beginning of this whole mess, we still want to be able to access our whole roof, and these panels should allow us to do that and gain a lot more wattage. And I'm just going to run this across the ceiling here, secure in the exact same way we secured the other ones. All right, so just cut these to length. Now I just got to strip these out. All right, guys, so we got everything wired up, and all we have to do is mount the solar panels. I got some special brackets for that. I'll show you those in a little bit, but hopefully the rest of this goes well and we'll start getting some more power. All right, so here we have the panels. They're 23 inches, just shy of 23 inches by 50 inches long. They're supposed to put out 150 watts, but we'll see. We're going to test these. All right, guys, so we have our Klein tool CL800, and all you have to do is take the little prongs. Well, first you turn the setting to volts, and then you hit select to go to DC, and then just put the prongs in there, positive and negative, and we're reading 25.4 volts right now, which is pretty good. On the back of these, there'll be a panel where you can see what it's supposed to read. And then to check the amps, just click over to amps, go to DC, just clamp that around there. It's reading 5.37 amps. All right, guys, so we got all those tested, and the voltage was all reading about the same, and the amperage was pretty close to the same. They were probably reading a little low, I was getting 130 watts to 150 watts out of all of them, just and clouds are going by and stuff like that. So, but I do highly recommend getting one of these Klein tools. This is the CL800, I believe. And like I said, it's very handy for doing any kind of RV stuff. If you have to do any kind of electrical stuff like that, it does volts and amps. It has the clamp meter, and you know, it's super easy to use. So I'll leave that linked in the description below in case you're thinking about getting a multimeter. I highly recommend this one. All right, guys, we're getting closer to install. And what we're doing right now is I have the solar panel right here, and this one is going to mount right up here in the corner. And that's where the roof is flat and then it angles down. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't mount one of the 250 watt panels in that spot, because you wouldn't be able to get the mounts flush because the solar panel is going to be angled. So what I did was I got these solar mounts that flex. They rotate. So I can put one on one end, and even though not flat, that's how it's basically going to work. We're going to have one on one side, one on the other, but the connection points here, everything's still going to be able to lay flat and make good contact. But these panels, they only have holes on the side. They don't have any here on the ends. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to drill a couple little holes on this end so that we can mount this way. And I got a piece of styrofoam here that came with it, and I'm going to put a piece of wood underneath it so when I drill through it, I don't actually go too far and hit the panel. Just put this on. All right, so hopefully that will allow it to lean just like that. I also got these mounts for the other solar panels, and the reason I got these naturally taller, and two of the panels have to go over top of the roof vents, and those things stick up about that far. So I just wanted to make sure I had plenty of room so that the panel isn't touching the top of that. And another bonus for using this kind is if I ever had to take one of these panels off, you can actually just unscrew these much easier than the ones that go underneath the panel. All right, guys, for the rest of these brackets, we are going to just put a bolt up in here, slap that on, put on a washer, lock washer, and then just tighten them down with, these are 10 millimeter, just cinch these down. And this should give us plenty of height we're going to need for that roof exhaust vent that's going to go under two of these. All right, I'm going to bolt up the rest of them, and then we'll start putting this stuff on the roof. First, clean up with acetone. Then we got some Ultra Bond. I'm going to slap underneath it. Some Dicor. But we didn't use the screws that came with it because the thread was way too fine. It was more like for sheet metal screws. So we wanted wood screws with a good bite so that these things don't come off. All right, now I just gotta do that to the rest of them. Well, guys, we got them all down. They're all screwed down, glued down, ready to go. Man, it's hot. It's freaking hot out here. So we just gotta hook up the wires, you know, make some MC4 extension cables to go to the ones that can't reach, and then hook them into the box, and then turn them on. I got it turned on, and I'm not getting any solar through my MPPT controller, so I put the multimeter on it, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm getting sometimes almost 200 volts through those 4 panels, and that shouldn't be. When I tested them, I was only getting a max about 25 volts, so 4 of those, in theory should be max about 100 volts, and it's almost getting up to double that. Like it's 172 right now, 150. I have to get back up there. Probably not today. All right, we'll figure it out and we'll let you know. All right, guys, it was getting extremely hot yesterday. I obviously wasn't thinking clearly because on one of the strands, the same end's on. And I did that with the -2. I have two negatives on, so two of the panels I wound up hooking up correctly, and then two of the panels were hooked up backwards. My mistake. It was extremely hot. Well, I swapped out this end and just got to do the other one. Hopefully that'll get everything straightened out and we'll be good to go. All right, guys, so I fixed the mistake, screwed up. You know, it was hot. I was extremely exhausted. It's working now, as you can see, where it's pulling out some voltage and a few watts, but it's still early in the morning, and well, time will tell how good these panels are doing. All right, so we messed up on those little connectors, but we straightened it out and everything's good to go now. And usually after I finish one of these installs, the first questions I get down in the comment section below is, how are these things performing? Well, if you want to find out, you're going to have to hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all that fancy jazz. Give this video a big thumbs up because we greatly appreciate it, and we appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down in the comment section below. I'm going to leave links to all the products and stuff I used in here down in the description area, and I'll probably pin the comment with links in there too. But if you're interested in a 2500 watt solar install, I'm going to leave a link right here for it so you can check it out. Hopefully you guys got something out of this, and thanks for coming along, and we'll see you guys next week.